this emerging technology of having a neural implant and the access to it. And so let's say that the risks on your team has solved all of the risks. It's unhackable. Pepsi cannot beat into your brain. All of those things are solved. It's game over for them. And all of the benefits, higher IQ, higher levels of training, or, attention span, or, having access to the truth of the universe, all of what we can do now with AI as well is available. Should it be universally distributed? Because would it create challenges societally speaking, like a few people having access to this? How can we, thread this line of access to this technology?
Great point. So you made a lot of assumptions that are nearly impossible, that is unhackable and so on. But I play the game. We really take this as it's only good and no one can do anything bad with it. I think it's still a challenge for society, in that if it's not given to everyone, it creates the biggest inequality that we've ever experienced. So right now we have inequality in the world, and it's mostly in the domain of money. You randomly are born in Bangladesh. Your best case scenario is to be as rich as the not poorest but low income person in the US. That's the gap. So there are rich nations, poor nations. Then in the US, you're born in zip code 10001. Your median income is about 10 times that of pretty much every other zip code in the US. There are states, I can go on and on. So if you're rich, your chances of being healthy, your chances of getting into any place you want for schools, your chance of having a lot more access in the job market are all there. Your chance of your prospects of marriage, like almost every domain you want. There's a friend of mine who says it, that the biggest diversity thing that we don't look at in terms of color is not black versus brown, it's green, money. That if you want to kind of do diversity right, you need to take people with low income and give them more opportunities, because more than it is easy to help every other kind of race and ethnicity, it's useful to help people that just cannot afford the luxury that we call median life. So now that we said that, with money, we saw how difficult it is to have inequality. It's really different societies. I was fortunate enough to basically get to spend time in both. I get invited to conferences like the World Economic Forum or conferences that bring the richest people in the world, and I see that it's just kind of unprecedented. You can't explain to a person who lives next to Columbia on Harlem in a kind of relatively low-income neighborhood what life is if you go to Switzerland to the World Economic Forum. It's just kind of unimaginable. So this is inequality in money. We've never experienced that level of inequality when it comes to thinking that will come up when you have neural implants in the way we imagine them. Because then you're going to have the rich also being smarter in such a way that the poor, brain-wise, would be almost like a different species. It's more like not just like I have more money, you have less money. It's like you're a different race. So when I go to the zoo, I see the smartest chimps and orangutan and bonobos. They are the closest relatives to us. There's about 2% difference in the DNA between a bonobo and a human. So, they're almost like us with just a tiny percent increase. Imagine now this 2% increase to you and I, but not to our friends. We're going to be a different species. We're going to go to the zoo and we're going to see the humans that used to be our brothers and sisters say, look at this one, Timmy, the smartest one of them, right? Like we're very impressed by the bonobo that can, speak sometimes with symbols. Say, look at this one, Stephen Hawking. He can do differential equations in his mind, just like baby Timmy here can do, because the smarts difference will be unprecedented. And it's not even clear if the two races, I'll call them, would one even interact, right? We don't really try to spend time talking to the chimps. We go look at them, we give them banana. We don't really say, let's have a conversation with them. We think of them as like a kind of inferior species that we don't really interact with. This is what I imagine will happen if it's not treated equally. You will just have two species out there that don't have anything to do with each other, and how smart, let's say that I'm on the lower one, how smart they are compared to me would be, they might not speak with words, they just communicate with thoughts directly, They might see the world in more dimensions than I do. They might, they of course will have cures for diseases that I don't have, so they can, deal with like healthcare. Like I would die at age 80 and they would just live to age 1000 because kind of you have a problem with this, you do that. All of the things that we kind of see, if you need an analogy between us and an ant, will be them to us. And this is what's going to happen if it's not given to everyone, but only to some. And it will be given just to some because money will be their way in, so the rich people will have it and the poor will not. And now poverty in money will turn to poverty in thoughts.
Wow. And it seems that, we're not having the conversation of maybe just hold it would be crazy for me to tell you, Moran, you know what, stop your work, stop your research, because the technology is coming. So we have to have these conversations on how to navigate it.